The importance of an emergency fund and how to build one. Imagine this. Your car breaks down unexpectedly, your roof starts leaking, or you lose your job, all in the same month. What do you do? If you don't have an emergency fund, those unexpected expenses can send you spiraling into debt, stress, and financial instability. But what if I told you that with just a few simple steps, you can prepare for life's curveballs and protect your financial future? In today's video, we're talking about the power of an emergency fund, why it's your ultimate safety net, how to figure out how much you need, and actionable steps you can take to start building it right now. Trust me, this is one of the best financial decisions you can make. Stick around to learn how to gain peace of mind and financial security, no matter what life throws your way. What is an emergency fund? Let's start with the basics. What exactly is an emergency fund? In simple terms, an emergency fund is money you've set aside to cover unexpected or urgent expenses. These are costs that arise out of nowhere and can put your finances in jeopardy. Things like emergency medical treatments, urgent home repairs, or even losing your job. An emergency fund is different from other types of savings. It's not meant for planned expenses like vacations, buying a new phone, or even making a large purchase like a car. Instead, it's specifically for unanticipated financial setbacks, offering a safety net that can prevent you from going into debt or using credit cards to cover the costs. Why you need an emergency fund? Some people may ask, do I really need an emergency fund? Let's explore why it's essential. Protection against unexpected expenses. Life throws curveballs when you least expect them. You could face an emergency medical situation. Your car could break down. Or you could be let go from your job. An emergency fund gives you the resources to handle these unexpected expenses without resorting to high-interest debt, such as credit cards or payday loans. Example: imagine your car suddenly breaks down and it costs $1,500 to repair. Without an emergency fund, you might need to put it on a credit card, accumulating debt and paying high interest rates. But with an emergency fund, you can pay for the repair immediately and avoid financial stress. Reduces financial stress. Financial uncertainty is one of the top sources of stress. Knowing you have an emergency fund in place offers peace of mind, knowing you're prepared for the unexpected. It can make a huge difference to your mental well-being when you're not constantly worried about how you'll pay for emergencies. Maintains financial stability. Life is unpredictable, and emergencies can make it harder to keep your finances stable. Without an emergency fund, you may find yourself dipping into long-term savings or taking out loans. An emergency fund lets you handle those curveballs without sacrificing your financial goals. For example, if you lose your job, your emergency fund can help cover your living expenses until you secure another job, so you don't need to use your retirement savings or take out a loan. How much should you save? Now that we understand why an emergency fund is so important, let's talk about how much you should aim to save. Most financial experts recommend saving 3 to 6 months of living expenses. This amount is designed to cover you in case of job loss, illness, or other major emergencies. For example, if your monthly living expenses total $3,000, you would need an emergency fund of $9,000 to $18,000. However, the exact amount will vary based on your unique circumstances. If you have a stable job and minimal expenses, you may not need a full 6 months of savings. If you're self-employed, live in an area with a high cost of living, or have dependents, you may want to aim for a larger emergency fund. How to calculate your emergency fund? Start by calculating your monthly living expenses, including rent, mortgage, utilities, food, transportation, insurance, and any other regular bills. Once you have this amount, multiply it by the number of months you want your emergency fund to cover. This will give you a clear target. Where to keep your emergency fund? You might be asking, where should I store this emergency fund? Here's the answer. Your emergency fund should be easily accessible but also secure. A high-yield savings account or a money market account are great options for this. Why not invest it? While investments like stocks or bonds may offer high returns, they are too risky for your emergency fund. The last thing you want is to dip into your savings during an emergency, only to find that your investments have lost value. Instead, choose an account that offers a higher interest rate than a typical savings account, but also allows for quick access without penalties. This way, your emergency fund can grow over time while still being there when you need it most. How to build your emergency fund. Building an emergency fund might sound overwhelming, but it's entirely doable if you take small, consistent steps. Here's how you can get started. Start small. If you're just beginning, don't feel like you need to save 3 to 6 months worth of expenses right away. Start with a manageable goal, such as $500 or $1,000. Once you've reached that, you can gradually work toward your larger goal. The key is to start, even if it's small. Tip: focus on getting to $1,000 first. This is a good starting point to cover small emergencies, like a car repair or medical copays. Automate your savings. Make saving for your emergency fund effortless by automating your transfers. Set up automatic deposits from your checking account into your emergency fund savings account each payday. Even if it's just $50 or $100 per paycheck, it will add up over time. Cut back on non-essential spending. Take a look at your current spending habits. Are there any areas where you can trim back, even temporarily? Maybe you could skip that daily coffee or reduce spending on entertainment. Use the extra savings to boost your emergency fund. Increase savings with extra income. Do you have a side hustle, or did you receive a tax refund or work bonus? Instead of spending it, put that extra income toward your emergency fund. The faster you can grow it, the better. Be consistent. Consistency is key. Even if you can only save a small amount each week, stay committed. Building your emergency fund is a marathon, not a sprint. And the important thing is that you're consistently adding to it over time. When to use your emergency fund. It's important to know when to dip into your emergency fund and when to hold off. Your emergency fund should be used for true emergencies. Things like medical expenses, surgery, emergency room visits, prescriptions, home or car repairs that are necessary for safety, broken furnace, leaking roof, flat tire, job loss or temporary loss of income. It's crucial that you don't use this fund for things like vacations, buying a new gadget, or covering day-to-day living expenses. That's not the purpose of this money. If you do use your emergency fund, make a plan to rebuild it as soon as possible. Common mistakes to avoid. Here are a few mistakes to watch out for when building your emergency fund. Relying on credit cards. Some people turn to credit cards when an emergency arises, but this can lead to a cycle of debt. An emergency fund is designed to help you avoid this. Using it for non-essentials. It's tempting to dip into your emergency fund for a non-urgent need, but it's important to stick to the purpose of the fund. Keep it for true emergencies only, not reassessing your fund. As your life changes, your emergency fund needs may change as well. Regularly review your expenses and adjust your savings goal accordingly. Thanks so much for watching. Now that you know why an emergency fund is essential and how to start building one, I want to hear from you. Have you already started your emergency fund? Or is it something you're planning to work on this year? What's the biggest challenge you faced when trying to save? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to know what's working for you or what's been holding you back. Don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful. And make sure to subscribe for more tips on managing your money and securing your financial future. Until next time, stay prepared and take control of your finances.